This is the Irish Maker Podcast, a show where we talk to makers, crafters and builders from all over the island of Ireland. I'm your host, Nathan Wheeler, and let's jump right into the episode. Hello makers, my name is Nathan Wheeler. Welcome to Dublin Maker, where today we are talking to some of Ireland's greatest makers. Join us for an action-filled day. Maja, how are you today here at Dublin Maker? Tell us a little bit about MakerShop.ie.
Well, I'm great. It's nice to be here after all this break with the pandemic and stuff. And yeah, since the last Maker, the Dublin Maker, when I was with the talk, now I run a shop. I help people source the items they need to make their project actual reality. This is pretty important during pandemic and stuff. I'm running a maker shop, and I sell Arduinos and plywood, but I'm here also as a maker. You can take a look at my laser cutter, 3D printer, both models that I make, and yeah.
And tell us a little bit about the Arduinos, because I actually know nothing about them.
Oh, come on.
I actually know nothing about them. Like, technology completely goes over my head. I have a bunch of 3D printers and they keep exploding on me, so explain them to me like I'm 5.
Okay, this is a small computer that lets you write some code and make things move or act on the electronic devices that you connect to this, and that's pretty much it.
Cool.
So this is very tiny brain that you can teach to do stuff that it's useful for you, that serves your purpose. Right? So like here on display, this is like pretty much all that I have in the shop right now. So there is a range from Arduinos. This one I'm getting from Indonesia.
Cool.
It's a very nice thing, especially for those who start. There are LEDs which actually lets you show that the pin is high.
Okay, cool.
Without any external stuff. There is a bunch of tiny MOSFETs that actually lets you pull more current than you would normally could do from Arduino.
Right, okay.
So you're not gonna electrocute it that fast.
Always a bad thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, this is Mega. This is a different Mega. It's with the mini USB, Nano, DigiSpark. These are ESP stuff. Those are older. This is ESP32 here with the camera. This is ESP12K. Not that new anymore. It was like introduced last year.
Okay.
So it has more pins, but less RAM, and I think just one core.
And tell me now, what do people mostly use these for? Like, obviously people are buying them from your shop, but what are the kind of projects are they using them on?
Well, usually it's some sort of home automation.
Oh, cool.
A lot of people do their robots, 3D printers. A lot of it's just projects for school or for whatever college they are. They are just told to do something in Arduino and they have to source it from somewhere.
Can I ask you about the boats? Because I love model making. I'm all about model making. And I'm seeing these boats and they look intricately detailed. Can you tell me a little bit more about them?
Well, this is my old hobby that I was doing since I was a kid. You know, my parents really tried to man me up, so I needed to have a hobby. Yeah, a lot of those are not really finished. This one is it's supposed to be Aquaroma Riva. This boat was featured in one of Bond movies.
Okay.
Actually, this is like a Rolls Royce of Mediterranean kind of,
It's the bee's knees.
No, it's pleasure boat.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool. And you've obviously got your laser cutter, you got your 3D printer.
Yeah, so like this tool was laser cut. You obviously can see, and this is like very tiny 1.5 millimeter plywood. So this is like a dense frame, and yeah, the planking is balsa. I ran out of balsa eventually, and I never finished this one.
Apparently getting balsa these days is very, very difficult.
It is.
Apparently they're putting an awful lot of them into the wind turbines, and then model makers can't actually get their hands on it.
Okay, I never heard this.
I never heard that at all, but I went looking for balsa wood, and then I went in, and they were like, you can't get it because it's all in these wind turbines. And he was like, which is a good thing, but also we can't build models, and that's a bad thing.
Well, it's actually better that they put balsa than they could, I don't know, put plastic or whatever.
Imagine, yeah.
Right, so...
and you also have a makerspace coming up.
Yeah.
Tell us all about that, because like we have a guy, I was on Reddit the other day, and some guy was like, I'm down in Ennis, I really want to get into making. What can I do? And I'm like, there's an Ennis makerspace, but you're here, so maybe tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, I moved to a new premises, and there is a room for makerspace. So I am slowly building up the furniture there.
Okay.
It's part of the ethos, right? That also the bench, the shelves, and all the stuff. It's also made, right? Not just bought. So it's taking some time, and yeah, I'm alone, so there's no much support and help from strangers. So yeah, moving slowly. But surely. I had this ambition for a long time. Since I moved away from Dublin, when I was a member of the talk, so
yes.
As soon as I moved to Ennis, I had this idea that would be great to have a makerspace. Then, then some things happened in my life that I had to start this shop. Then the pandemic happened, and yeah.
Well, listen, Maja, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time, and it's been absolutely brilliant chatting to you.
Okay, I actually wanted to show you.
Oh, show me.
The, America.
Oh, show me.
This is my flagship. Actually.
This is your flagship. Let's get a shot here with Vicky. Oh, now tell me all about this boat. Ship.
So yeah, this is SY America, and if you ever heard about America Cup.
It is the sailing
race.
Sailing race, yeah,
like
yeah.
Most prestigious race in the world.
Yeah.
For sailing ships, and people usually believe that the America Cup, the name came from the country. It didn't. It came from this boat.
Oh wow! Okay.
This was the first winner of then called 12 Guinea challenge.
Give it a second. Yeah.
And she won. And since then, other boats were challenging her, and she was like fastest for several times. So they renamed it eventually for America Cup.
That's a really interesting piece of history. And
yeah,
you handmade this.
Yeah, this is planks on frame, and if you take a look at the planks, you can actually recognize that those are matchsticks.
And you may put each of them on.
This is
and
like,
is it lacquered?
Yes. So this is like 10 boxes of matchsticks. All each of them hand bent.
Oh God.
Glued, and then there is like 7 layers of varnish on this.
Do you know what, most people when they look at this kind of thing, they'd be like, oh, that's really impressive. As a model maker, I look at that and I go, oh my God, that's impressive. Because I think only people who've actually built tall things, they can go and go, oh, I actually know how difficult this must have been.
And this was like 4 months of work.
I can well believe it. It's gorgeous, the detail in the rigging.
Take a look at the rigging. This is like fully functional, like technologically correct rigging. If you take a look at all those cleats here, you see the proper knots. You could untie those if you have tweezers, and you can take the sails down. Like everything that's supposed to move. Here.
Could I hold it? Would that be worse? Oh, that is absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for chatting to us. Thank you so much for showing me this, because this thing's absolutely incredible. I need to get some more pictures of that later on. Perfect. Listen, thank you so much.
This is the front for the camera. I was actually making this head and showing this to you.
Arthur, how are you today? We're here with Tog Hackerspace, and you guys are running a repair cafe. Can you tell me a little bit more about it?
I'm good, thanks. How are you? Yeah, Tog is running a repair cafe. It's part of the general ethos of repair, reuse, recycle. So rather than have people throw stuff away that has got broken, we think it's a good idea for them to be able to bring it along to people who will at least have a go at repairing things. Don't always succeed, but people can learn how to approach repairing things, learn not to be afraid of taking them apart, and see how they're put together. And so there's all sorts of things that we're trying to repair. Obviously, on an occasion like this, you know, I just bought a little toolbox because that was heavy enough to bring. Can't bring an entire workshop with us. But in the Tog premises, of course, we've got lots of equipment that is able to do a lot more serious stuff than that.
And you run quite a few repair shops throughout the year, don't you?
Well, we've only run one so far. This is the second one ever. There's another one due to take place on September the 25th.
Perfect.
In our premises on Kylemore Road, back behind Mr. Price there. Mr. Price is easy to spot. And so at the last repair cafe, I think we had something like 35 or 40 people bringing along a variety of things.
That's quite a turnout.
It was quite a turnout.
What was the best thing that was repaired?
Certainly nothing that I repaired. I was given 6 things to repair and I only managed one of them. Somebody had cut through the lead of hedge trimmers. We've all done that.
Oh yeah.
There's lots of things that did get repaired. I think I'm not in a position to say what was the best thing actually, because I haven't compared notes like that with the other people that were there. But there was some cool things going on, and when people bring along electrical equipment, for instance, one of our members, Jeffrey, has done a course on PAT, that's portable appliance testing, so he's qualified to make sure that people are going away with things that are safe.
Brilliant.
You know, because a lot of charity shops, for instance, won't take electrical goods anymore because
a risk of fire and liability.
They're concerned for electrical safety.
Oh, wow, okay.
So we have got somebody now who's certified, competent to declare something safe. And people are bringing along their own stuff, and we have them sign a declaration that they understand that if they bring it along and we can't fix it, we might actually make things worse. But I don't think that generally happens. They bring along things that are broken and they've almost given up hope on them, and it's repair them or throw them in the landfill, and we'd much rather see them repaired.
Listen, Arthur, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. It's great to see the kind of the right to repair and the repair movement taking such a strong hold in Dublin, because there's so many things that we're so easily disposable.
I know,
thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely shocking. That's great, thank you.
Chris, how are you? We're here at Dublin Maker, here with MakerMeet.ie. Tell us all about MakerMeet.
Certainly. Well, we do educational workshops and we create maker spaces. We do all kinds of things in the maker field, all in education and things like that. We have been working on, we've come from EuroPython last year, last week. The time is flowing together, and now, which was all about coding, clearly, Python, and so we decided to go low-key now, and we're doing all cardboard projects here. So what we have is we have a cardboard arcade of 6 different games that people can come up and play, and there's only one with any electronics in it, which is the one that we had at EuroPython.
That's great. It's very low tech.
Absolutely low tech, and the point being behind all of it is that all of the stuff here can be made with the absolute simplest of materials. The only materials we're using are cardboard, a little bit of tape, maybe a little bit of hot glue, and for instance, even in one of them there, we're only using grease-proof paper as the screen of a monitor. Yeah,
from an accessibility and an excessive, from a sustainable point of view, it's absolutely incredible what you're doing.
And that's what we're trying to kind of push in schools as well. The idea that, like, the very youngest of kids are natural makers. And that's what we want to just encourage them to continue to be natural makers. And I mean, there's a great story of that goes back to the kind of what kicked all of this off for us. I won't go into all of it, it's too much. But the chap that did that talked to a chap from NASA. He got brought to NASA, and the guy who literally helps make the rockets that go up started off doing everything with cardboard. And that kind of really inspired us to try and do lots of things for cardboard for young makers, so that they know in schools, at home and things like that, they can come in, pick up a bit of cardboard, a bit of tape, put something together and create something that's absolutely brilliant and fun to play with.
I'm actually blown away by it, because cardboard, I think for an awful lot of makers, is exactly where people start, and they template out designs and they make something ridiculously big and they're like, oh, this is great, and the whole thing falls apart, but you learn it's for making and breaking. And that's what's great about
and prototyping, like cardboard is so good for prototyping. I know you know this, yeah. But things for prototyping is just brilliant, you know. And then you can move on to the next material, maybe wood or maybe plastic or maybe 3D printing, and that's fine. And we do all of that too. That's fine. But in reality, when you can start with cardboard with young kids, that's the way to go. It's the only way to go in our books. We actually use a thing called screws, not pushing a product or anything, it's not like that. But they're brilliant because they're screws made specifically for cardboard. So when you were talking about making a big thing, and what happens when you make big things at home or in classrooms, they're just big and they're made with tape or glued, and they can never be put away because they're just too big. But with these screws, literally, you can unscrew the thing, fold it flat, and bring it, which is what we've done with all of these here. These have all fit into the back of a really small car.
Chris, tell us about these cardboard screws.
Absolutely. So these are one of our favorite things to use. So they're brilliant because whenever we make something from cardboard, we've experienced that it's really hard to carry those around. And in classrooms, at home, when you make something big, there's never space to keep it. But with screws, you can literally unscrew it, reuse your materials again, and reuse the screws again. So I can give you an example if you like.
Show me.
Absolutely. So there's a number of different tools. So these are the kind of tools that you get in some of the kits. So this is the very first one. So this is for cutting. This is a saw, and the saw is metal, but I will show you, and this is no danger whatsoever, but it's absolutely safe. So if I do it on my hand, absolutely safe for kids to use from about 5 years upwards.
That's incredible.
It's incredible. The end of it is the pointy bit to make the hole to put the screw in. This is to score so that you can fold your cardboard, and this is used to put in the top of the screw in order to screw something in. And they give you two different size screws. So they give you one for lots of cardboard, a longer one, and then a slightly shorter one for just a couple of pieces of cardboard. So I'll give you a quick demonstration very quickly.
Please.
Yep. So I just have a little bit of cardboard here, so I can take this apart. Like that. Whoop. Don't need that. And I'll take this just to put this together. I'll punch a hole between the two. I'll take a short one, put it there, and that's it. One on that side, and another short one. And again, just as talking about for prototyping, this is just brilliant for kids because you can do something that quickly, and that's it. And that is held together quite sturdily. This is what we had exhibited at EuroPython, and this is a cardboard physical playing arcade. So the whole thing, as you can see, is very large. It's very deep, but the only reason it's deep is to get this image here, and this image is coming from a very cheap projector, only about 70 quid, and it's being displayed on this. Is just greaseproof paper. So once again, we didn't want to use an actual screen or projector. We just wanted to use something very simple. And you can run any game on it, from a Raspberry Pi to a laptop computer. It's plugged in, you run your game, and then you play it using these touch pads, which in turn are touched to the game. So it gives you up, down, left, right, and your hand is simply to create the circuit for it as well. So you create the whole circuit so you can play and do that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great stuff. Yeah, it's good.
Michael, tell us all about these incredible droids you produced.
Thank you. I downloaded the files from Facebook groups. There are different groups for different droids, and you can download them for free and print them on your own machine and spend a lot of time sanding it and assembling and building your own. So this one took me 9 months to build for the Maker Faire a few years ago, and it started my new collection, and I added one robot every year. So they are remote controlled with hidden remote, and they work on Arduino boards and make sounds when I activate it with the joystick. This is my new project for this year, and this will be released as a set of files So everybody can build their own model in full scale. This is the real size of the real satellite, which will be launched in January or February of 2023 by UCD, and it will be the first Irish satellite in space.
And that's a complete scale replica, like that's the exact size it's actually going to be.
Yes, it is, and it is designed so it is easily built without using the glue, with different types of connections, and all prints flat on any 3D printer. The simplest one, or Ender 3, will fit all the parts. You print it flat and assemble it without use of glue.
Michael, thank you so much. This has absolutely been incredible to see the breadth of work that you're working on. Thank you so
very much. Thank you.
David, you are one of the lead guys involved in AirSat-1. I didn't realise how small your satellite is. I was over there with the model maker and he was like, that's the satellite. And I was like, I thought this was the size of a room.
No.
And then I was like, a small car. And then I was like, it's like...
It's much harder
it's like
to
an
make
Xbox. I can imagine so. Because I was thinking, I didn't know what to expect, because like most people have no idea like what is a satellite, and then you actually see it and you're like, oh my god, that's like, it's like, that's so
it has
compact.
all the boards and stuff in there it has all the subsystems that you need for the major satellite. It's all small. It's like your phone getting smaller, all technology getting crushed onto one board. So it's only that size.
Yeah, it's very
So it's going to go to space. It's light, compact.
You're obviously really excited.
Very excited, yeah. So, we're finishing the testing and handing it to the European Space Agency in end of September, October.
Is that a little bit scary, just because I guess it's going to be out of your hands, and then like the work's going to be taken by someone else, and that they're going to be bringing it on its final journey?
Yeah, so we put in a box, basically you're a deployer, so a cage which is going to spring it out into space. So yeah, when you put it there, then it's in other people's hands, so it goes to Ariane Space, who the launcher, and goes to French Guiana, so on the equator.
Oh, wow.
And then it gets launched from there. So all the European rockets launch from there. And then, the next we'll see of it. If we're lucky, there'll be a camera somewhere pointing near the pod that it comes out. But otherwise, the next we'll see of it or hear from it is when we actually communicate with it. So 45 minutes after it gets launched from the rocket into space, the antennas pop out automatically, fingers crossed, and then it will make contact with the ground station in UCD, and then we'll know. So we'll have a very good day or a very bad day that day.
You have champagne on the ready.
That's it, yeah. I think there'll be a little bit of a cheer, I say, anyway. Yeah.
Huzzah!
Yeah. 5 years of work, better work. So.
Now what?
Now what? Well, then we operated for 5 years. So,
wow, yeah.
they'll stay up there about 4.5, 5 years. So we'll do all our science and our experiments and have, this Irish, a little bit of Ireland up there, going around at 90 minutes orbiting the Earth, and it'd be great.
Just out of curiosity, does the orbit decay on a satellite like this? Because I know at the International Space Station you kind of need to change it every so often, and then it needs to kind of be readjusted. Will that happen, or will it just slowly decay and then down it'll come? Yeah,
so it decays because there's little bits of atmosphere, and it decays because of solar pressure, so little bits of the sun hitting it. So that slows it down. If it gets slowed down, then it goes down in orbit. And basically, the higher you're up, the longer you last. So we're at 520 kilometers. So that means, we do orbital simulations and we work out all these forces, and it's going to last 4.5 years. So if the sun is more active, it'll last less, and if it's less active, it'll last a little bit longer. So we don't have control of the sun and its activity, but it goes in cycles, and you can kind of tell, you can make an estimate of what's going to happen. So if we went higher, it would be longer, but 4.5 is probably good. If it lasts that long working, then I think we'll be all happy.
This is Creative Spark. Guys, introduce yourselves and tell us what Creative Spark is all about.
I'm Grainne Murphy, and I'm the print studio coordinator. And this is... And
I'm Jacqui, and I'm the FabLab Community and Business Development Manager.
Tell us all about Creative Spark.
We're everything. So I run a print studio, so that's member-based. We've got about 34 members. We teach classes. And then we work on lots of projects. Then we also have lots of businesses that run out of it, so everyone has their own door offices. We also have co-working, hot desking, and then Jacqui is in charge of our brand spanking new Fab Lab.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. So at the minute we're receiving our mobile Fab Lab. That'll be here in about 8 weeks.
Oh wow!
It's going to be exciting. So we're going to be able to go out on location and allow people to tinker at community events, and then go to industry and allow them to fabricate and rapid prototype on site. And then we have our larger enterprise fab lab, which is due to open later this year, and we'll have all the large machines and all the toys for everyone to come and try out. And it's a community access fab lab, so anybody can come along. You don't have to be enrolled in a class or in business or anything like that, so it's available for everybody to come along.
That's incredible. It's incredible to have another space in the country, because there's just so few of them, and like there seems to be growing hand over fist. Can you guys show us this? Because this looks absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so this is part of our larger project, so Jacqui can talk about that and I'll do a little demo. So this is our screen print that we've got set up, so it's little illustrations from our bigger project, so everyone can come up and do their own print and take it home with them. So we're just going to give it a go.
Wow. Can I take that home with me?
You can. Well, no, you have to print your own, actually.
Oh. Thank you so much. And what's this?
So this is a Digitronic art piece. We wanted to incorporate the print studio, the downtown hub podcasting studio, and the new Fab Lab. So we came up with screen printing conductive paint onto a piece of art and recording audio in our podcasting studio telling the story of County Louth. And then at the back of the board we have loads of copper tape and an Arduino board that is the brain of it all. So when you touch it, it'll trigger the sound and it'll tell you the story, and then if you touch it again we change the coding that it would stop. So we didn't have to keep hearing it on repeat.
Guys, thank you so much for having us over. We're really looking forward to coming up and seeing your mobile fab lab and hopefully doing a tour of your space.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Peter, you are here at Dublin Maker with what has to be the coolest robots I have ever seen.
Oh, cool.
How did you get into making giant robots?
Oh wow, how did I get into it? Well, it started off with making robots for Robot Wars, and you can see I have one in the background there. And I did the TV show and I just loved it, and that was back in 1997.
Oh wow.
And then I just stayed building robots from then on, and I just got bigger and wilder and madder.
What got you into Robot Wars?
They were doing Robot Wars in America at that time, back in 97-ish, and I saw a TV show it was on the MTV or something like that, where it was just filming the underground thing of Robot Wars. It was starting off as this underground thing, and they were just sort of following the thing. And then BBC bought the rights to make a TV show in the UK, and internet was just invented at that stage, and I did, before Google, I did a search on the internet. I think I used something called, I don't remember what I used.
Before Google,
did a search, and I found that they were looking for people to build robots for this TV show, and I said, I'll do that. Yeah.
He's just like, yeah, I could totally build a giant robot.
Absolutely. I'd never done it before, never built one before, but yeah, I just thought that's for me.
And you now do this as a career?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just making robots just for fun and entertainment and education. We also run courses on how to build robots.
Is there a huge amount of uptake on those courses? Like, what kind of people are coming along?
Well, we do kids and adults, so we start off as sort of teenage, and then up to 90 years old, and just people who just want to make robots for fun and just learn how to do coding, how to do welding, and just making robots. And yeah, I mean, there's so many things involved in building a robot. There's so many, it's so diverse. You know, you've got pneumatics, you've got electronics, you've got electrics, you've got battery systems, you have different types of materials, and then you got machining and welding, and I mean, it's huge. It covers every piece of engineering.
So tell us all about this, Peter.
These are my two boxing robots, and they've got CO2 pneumatics, and they can punch each other. And it's pretty hard. You can see all the dents and stuff that we've got here. But the idea is that they knock each other's blocks off. Punch each other's heads, and the heads will fall off. And it's a lot of crack. And we'll have a go at that today. I'm sure you get some.
Are you going to bring it out today and actually fight them?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
These are remote controlled, so the bottoms are all wheelchairs. It's all scrap.
And you use a huge amount of recycling.
Yeah, absolutely. This is all recycled materials. Old barrels. Even these are little old pistons.
All right, listen. Thank you so much, Peter. I really, really appreciate it. Amy, Ritvik, we're here now with JellyLab.
Yes.
Tell us what this whole project's about.
Okay, try and summarise it in about 30 seconds. We are a research group that is based down in UCD.
Okay.
We're called the JellyLab, and we're interested in kind of doing research. Well, every science lab is interested in doing research, but we're particularly interested in basically studying these animals, which are called comb jellies.
Okay.
we research them for a couple of different reasons. So first of all, they have a really interesting brain and some really interesting behaviours that they do. So that's kind of the focus of my work, which is studying them and understanding them a bit better.
Yeah.
But the other thing that we're really focused on in the lab is developing tools that are low cost and easy to make and accessible depending on no matter where you live in the world to study microplastics. Because microplastics are a pretty big problem.
Yeah, really big problem.
And if we want to deal with it, we first need to know how big the problem is. So we're building tools to essentially look at that, and also kind of a little bit of overlap. We also look and see whether these animals are actually eating the microplastics.
And can these organisms, can they eat plastic?
We don't know yet, right?
We're
so that's one of the things
out.
that we're looking at. It does look like they can. So basically how these guys eat is they have two sticky tentacles. So you know, like in a normal jellyfish, their tentacles are a bit stingy.
Yeah.
These guys aren't.
Okay.
Which makes them a lot nicer to work with.
Cool.
And they have two tentacles and they're sticky. And basically that's how they trap food on the tentacles and then bring it to their mouth. Microplastics are the exact same size or roughly the same size as their food. So the big concern is that instead of eating food, they might be eating microplastics. And that's kind of what Neve, who's the other PhD student in the lab, is studying.
Wow, that's really, really interesting.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's insane. Like you spend all day messing around with jellyfish. Like that sounds like a great day.
With jellyfish and electronics and microscopes and 3D printers.
And have you created a superhero yet?
Not yet.
Jelly person.
I'm so sorry. We'll get back to you, maybe next year, right? If you come by our tent next year, I know.
I want to come around next year and I'm going to be like, we made a super jellyfish.
I know.
That's what we really want to see.
Yeah, that'd be fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Perfect, guys. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it. Tomas,
Hi, Nathan.
We're here at Dublin Maker. Tell us all about it. Tell us how great the day is going to be.
Well, it's fantastic. It's been a great start to the day. It rained this morning. I was thinking, oh my goodness, this is why we have tents. But it has cleared up and it's turned into a wonderful, it's got that festival atmosphere that I was looking for. You know, there's some great makers here. I don't know if you've been around, I assume, right?
We've seen some pretty cool people here today.
Did you see the robotic cyclist?
We haven't. Oh, yes, sir, we did see
driving around.
He's got like punchy robots.
Yeah,
as well.
a bunch of robots at 12 o'clock.
So 12 o'clock is that when they're...
Yeah, there's going to be the bout of I suppose, the World Robotic Boxing Championship. I'm looking forward to that. What else has been great? There's been so many great makers. Some of the old makers have really come strong again this year, you know, with some really, you know, it's very easy to kind of roll out the same thing every year, but it's amazing. Some of our experienced makers are coming up with some really new stuff. And then there's some people that have never been here before who are, again, really surprising me with, you know, what they've been doing, right? Because there's a big difference between what you see written in the form, and people write the little application form, we're going to do this and make that, and you go, yeah, that might be good. Then you get blown away when you see it for real.
And tell me now, what would you say to people who are watching this episode and they're thinking, I'd love to get involved in Dublin Maker? What advice would you give them?
Oh, I would advise people to not to feel that maybe that, you know, given the very high standard of things you see here, some people feel, oh, well, I couldn't do that, or maybe I wouldn't be good enough, right? It's not really about being good enough. It's really about having a passion and kind of, you know, enthusiasm for the process. In fact, if you look at some of the makers here, you see that's what they have in spades. Maybe what they've built or something is definitely work in progress and maybe needs a bit of work, but the enthusiasm, charisma, and kind of energy they have, that's what we want. So if you really believe in what you're doing and you're passionate about what you're doing, in fact, even the fact that you're having a thought about maybe I should participate in Dublin Maker, that in itself is a reason you should submit something to Dublin Maker, because your heart's in the right place.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tomas. Thank you so much. François, how are you doing today? Tell us about your project, because it looks super polished and it's just a little button.
Yeah, so my name is François. I moved to Ireland like a couple of years ago, and ever since I've been here, I have a problem. Nobody can type my name because I have a special character in my name. It's a C with a cedilla, and I have it on my keyboard because I have a French keyboard. But here, co-worker, friends, nobody can type it. And it doesn't really annoy me that much. I thought it would be funny, as a joke, to make a one-key keyboard, like a whole keyboard just for that one key, to be able to give it to people. So the idea is, I got some like very cheap electronic boards. I designed a casing around it, so I made 20 prototypes of it until I got like the right format, the clicking like perfect. And then the thing that really sells it is I make a packaging for it. So I got a laser cutter because I try to like buy online boxes, but if you don't do custom box, if you don't buy more than 1,000 of them, it's super expensive.
Yeah.
So I just bought a laser cutter, but it's very nice because I could design it, look very professional. I kind of like basically this whole project is very egocentric, so I decided to run with it and just like I'm doing my Steve job and just put my face on it, and made like 50 of them just to have them like to distribute, and it works. Like it's plugged right now. If you press it, it makes a character.
I just love this project so much because it's one of those things like if someone gets your name wrong, you're like, have a keyboard and figure it out. And like, what can someone do at that point? It's like they're gonna have to plug it in and work away on it. Like.
Yeah, and like I think what was a nice thing, it's a very simple project and a simple problem because it's something that very you can relate to. Like people just can't type your name, and also it's like you just see it, you just like, oh, I know what it is. It's very simple, and also it's very small, so I always had one in my pocket. Like the whole thing was I made 50 of them. I would always keep one in my pocket, ready for when the joke presents itself. The one problem is I would like crush it in my jacket because I always have it. So I made a sleeve. It's like
oh, it's got your little face on it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, with the laser cutting, if you want to do engraving, you have to do calibration.
Yeah.
It's annoying. It was actually easier to make a hole, just so I don't have to do the calibration.
It is an absolutely beautiful project. And François, thank you so much for taking the time, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Jacinta, how are you? We're here looking at the National Print Museum. Tell us what it's all about.
The National Print Museum is a unique museum. It's a very small museum. It's not like a normal museum. This is a walk one. You can walk in, you touch, you feel, you take part, you learn how to do hand setting. We are absolutely, we love all, we have retired printers that come in, have our machines up and running. We welcome everybody, no matter what age or age group. And my colleague here would like to talk to you a bit more about our print lab.
Sure. So yeah, I'm assistant to the Outreach and Education Officer, so I kind of work primarily with workshops and our print lab, as we call it. So print lab is kind of little workshops we do in conjunction with the museum. It can be stuff from letterpress printing to stamp making to we do printing with Lego, which is kind of fun.
Oh, really? That sounds amazing.
We use Lego and letterpress printers to make unique prints. So kids will come in and make their shapes with Lego, and then we'll see what way it comes out on the printing press. Today we're here with some P22 blocks, which is like modular printing blocks, where you combine them into a grid, and then the combined shapes will make a letter or a pattern or that kind of thing. So people are having a lot of fun with that. They can get a bit experimental with it. But yeah, we do lots of workshops. We have, as Jacinta was saying, with live demos. We're a fully operating museum, so yeah, we kind of have the machines up and running as much as possible. And generally, our workshops are kind of done through our mailing list, so that's generally the best way to find out what's happening with our print lab workshops, is to sign up to our mailing list.
Perfect.
We're generally not advertised on our website, unfortunately. Just we don't really have the team for the social media side of things. But,
perfect. Well, thank you so much. I'd love to, if we could all come out to the National Print Museum and see all this, because I think the stuff that you guys do is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And I love that antique feel of the old letter stamps. It's absolutely wonderful. So thank you so much, guys, and we'd love to see you soon.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Sarah and Jennifer, we're here with Saradin Designs, and you're a milliner. Tell us about what being a milliner is all about.
Well, I fell into it quite by accident. My degree is actually in sculpture.
Okay, cool.
And my mum was going to a wedding and asked me to make her a hat. So that's literally how I began, quite by accident. And I hand make all my fabric in my designs as well. So once a sheet of fabric's made, it can't be replicated, so it makes each design bespoke to its owner. And then all the cut-offs are reworked back in as well, so there's no waste left behind, so it is sustainable.
How are you making your own fabric?
Oh, it's a trade secret. It is my niche, so I don't tell everybody. But what it is it's different fibres combined together. And everybody's been here guessing how I do it. Felting is a favourite one, but it's not felting at all.
And you've been doing this for how many years now?
Since 2016.
And
So
how's the business going?
Oh, it's going really well. So I have a hat gone off to London Hat Week. There was 110 milliners entered a competition.
Wow.
And I'm in the top 10, so that got shipped to London. And I've just got a grant to go to New York as well. So I'm off in a few weeks to see a trade show. And I'm going to, it's basically you go do research to see if you want to export then with the trade show yourself.
That's
so,
really, really cool. And is there many milliners in Ireland? Is that a big
good
community?
few. There is a big community in Ireland because like horse racing, wedding, that kind of thing. But I'm the only one that hand makes all my own fabrics. So I am unique, as they say.
That's incredible, guys. And I'm really, really excited. Hopefully we'll have a chat with you at another time. We may do a longer form episode because the work that you guys do is absolutely incredible. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Caesar, how are you doing today? You're here today with Moonlight Candles. You have incredible stuff here today. Tell us how you got into it and what you make.
So how I got in, it started during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I just needed to be creative in some way. So I started to check options. And I love candles. I always love candles. So I said I'm going to start like a candle business. No? So I just did some research in how to the process of making them. No. So I got I tried with a few companies like for them to do them, and they just send them. I said no, it's going to be like too expensive. So I decided to start myself. So I researched about the waxes, what. The wicking process, like for example, if the wick is too small or too big, it's not going to be like the same performance for the candle and things like that. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, the stuff you have here is absolutely phenomenal, and thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh no, thank you.
No worries. Sean, I'm here looking at your incredible arrow collection.
Yep.
What got you into archery and also making your own arrows?
Well, to be honest, it was saving money. So initially it started off as a project just to save money because I got into doing archery and I was breaking arrows continuously. I was awful at it. It took me months to get better and better. And I thought, well, if I get the separate parts and put them together, then that way I can produce something that's not just my own, but also cheaper as well. I did that, and then I started doing more kind of artistic projects. So I started adding like obsidian heads.
I see.
Yeah, of course. Now I can't bring them to a club for like insurance reasons, and also they'll tear up a target as well. And then over time I started getting into like more primitive arts as well. So you can see there's a spearhead there made of slate, and there's also this axe head here. So it's using a sheep bone that I found on a hike, and it's using slate that I found. That's sheep intestine, and this is pine tar. So you mix pine with charcoal with pine sap and beeswax, and that makes a primitive style glue. Lots of the stuff it was using information I learned online, and I was able to produce different tools this way.
And you shoot a lot of these arrows?
Yeah, I'll shoot. So there's the broadheads and there's the points. I'll shoot the points because they're reusable. When they go into a target, you can just pull them right out. With the points, though, these are more primitive style. They're more of an art project. They'll shatter over time, but based on like how people shot like back in the day, I suppose they were kind of like a fire and forget kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then over time I've started using I try to focus nowadays on Irish materials. So this is pine. These are bamboo. I don't really use bamboo anymore. It was effective at the time and it matched how my bow shot, but I'm not really shooting with that anymore. And then I started finding stones like these. All of these stones can be used to make primitive tools. You just need something like this to grind it out. But the most important part is you have to make sure you have like both stone and tool covered in water.
So they don't absolutely tear each other apart?
It's more so that like the dust coming off will cause silicosis. So it's a great way to go, but it's safer if you just have it submerged in water when you're doing it. And then the feathers, the fletching is all turkey feather as well, dyed.
Where do you get your turkey feathers?
You can get them online. I tried going to a couple of butchers, but I noticed that there's a trend nowadays that most butchers get all the meat kind of pre-prepared. So it's less traditional where they'll get some carcasses and they'll be pulling pieces off and they'll be gutting
They'll
whatever they
butcher
find.
it right there and then. Yeah.
It's not really a butcher, they're more like meat merchants.
Meat merchants.
Yeah.
I like that. Well, listen, Sean, this is absolutely incredible stuff, and I'd love if we could do an episode in the future where we come out and we shoot a couple of your bows.
Yeah.
Because like
Sounds
you've
good.
got some awesome stuff here that you just don't see these days.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you too.
Juliane, I'm looking at your incredible felt hats. Tell me how you got into this and all about these incredible hats.
Okay, well, I studied textiles when I was in art college, but then so I learned how to print and weave and all sorts of things, but I didn't really study felting, although I did a little bit of it just apropos with snow and dancing and having fun. And so what happened is this bracelet, which I've had now for a dozen years, I saw, or more than a dozen, at a craft fair, and I said, I bought it. I don't usually buy stuff. And I said, I need to know what it is. So I went to the library, and I found a book on making felted hats. And I had made hats before, proper millinery hats, after art school. And so I then got in love. I fell in love with making hats. And so, again, and they're very whimsical, and they're both kind of, you combine painting with kind of sculpture. And you start off flat.
Okay.
It's two-dimensional. You layer the wool around a resist. You wet it with wool, with soapy water. And as you agitate it, it shrinks, whatever percent you want. I usually do 35-40%. Rinse it, and then I shape it, stitch it. And I like to make things that are both practical and a little bit playful or quirky. And so that was whatever.
And do you make them to sell, or you just make them for the love of them?
That's the funny thing is that because you'll know when a lot of people make things, you end up with too much of something.
I know
First
the feeling.
You give them to everyone, and then other than maybe your parents, nobody wants to wear them. They go, oh, yes, I love it. It's sculpture in my living room. No, I don't wear hats. And you're like, and they do keep it, but it's not the right thing. A hat has to be worn to come alive. A costume has to be worn to come alive. Painting just goes on a wall. It's fine, but wearables have to be worn. And so I did start selling when I lived in America. And as you can tell, I'm American. I moved here in December, but I lived in America 7 years most recently. And before that, I lived in England for a dozen years.
Oh,
so
wow.
That's where I started doing this, was when my kid was in preschool in England, in Norwich. And so I did sell there some. And then when I moved to England, America, I sold even more. And now I'm here and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I have bags of hats. And so I will hopefully sell. I have my website up, but I find the VAT charging a bit confusing, and so not for confusing if I was just selling here, but if I'm going to sell to America, how that works out, and so I have to figure that out.
Well, I must say, your hats are absolutely extraordinary. I'm
Thank
really,
you.
really impressed. And thank you so much for coming
Thank
on the
you.
Irish Maker
Thank
podcast.
you.
You are a wood turner.
Wood turner, mostly wood carving, but I like to wood turn as well. But my main forte would be the likes of this lad.
Oh, show us this now. And you did that handmade with a chisel and a hammer.
That's all done with a chisel and a mallet. So you look like that going out Saturday night, you end up like that Sunday morning.
And how long would something like that take you?
There's over 40 hours in that piece.
40 hours?
These pieces here vary maybe a couple of hours in this lad. The green man, leaf shape. The girl with the ice cream, she's a little more, there's a little more work in her. But I have this here, which is chip carving. And that's done with a knife, sitting on your lap, and that's therapeutic.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
You know?
That's going to get you the practice of all this as well.
Yeah. It keeps your mind going, keeps your hand in.
And can you show us how the lathe works?
I will, surely. Now that's a piece of cherry on the lathe. So,
where do you source all your wood?
Parks like this, I come in and I ask the park attendants, are they cutting down any timber? Would they mind if I took a piece away? Usually they're grand, and what I normally do is I give them a wooden pen, which started off actually like that and ends up.
Oh, I'd say they love that.
So yeah, and then you're sort of in there for good. They'll keep you in mind there. But this is just a little roughing gouge. And if I was turning a mushroom, the thing about wood turning is you can see this shape starting to develop. Whereas with the wood carving, it doesn't develop that quick. It's a slow process. This is Now, if you imagine that as being the top of the mushroom, can you visualise that as
I can.
Yeah. Okay. Supposed to turn it off before you do that, but now this would be the tip, or sorry, the the jaggedy edge on the mushroom. So now I can come in. So I'm starting to get the shape of the mushroom there now. That's what happens when you don't tighten it. But now, there's the shape of the mushroom starting. You tend to eat this stuff as well.
Do you know the one thing I've learned about these kind of people is that when you meet a master at his craft, they make it look almost easy, and you never realise that it's actually super, super hard. I did this a couple of years ago, and I barely got a bowl done, and I had the guy standing over me being like, "Oh yeah, I'll just help you," and then does half the bowl for you. But it's incredible.
Yeah. You'll get people who'll do that. I prefer to let you make your own mistakes, just like I've done there. I didn't tighten up, and I'm very rough as a wood turner. I'm very rough. I'd be putting the tools under extreme pressure as well. Yeah, that's what sent that back.
And how do people get into this craft?
I had a bad accident.
Oh?
A shooting accident.
They're usually bad.
They usually are bad. Yeah, I was on crutches for 8 months.
Oh gosh.
And a brother of mine bought me one of these and bought me a chisel and said, "There, that'll keep your head together." So it did, and it developed onto that. I was already doing a bit of carving at the time, but it developed onto making these lads. But it's all in. A lot of the turning is body movement. Unless I probably said it to you, you wouldn't notice, but I'm not moving my hands. My body is moving a good lot of the time, like I'm pushing in that way. Now, we take out a bit of this on the inside.
Wow.
Mushroom.
I think that's very good. Hi Esther, I'm looking at your incredible stall here where you recycle Nespresso pods. How did you get into this?
Look, it's when a couple of years ago, when I didn't really have money, but I really wanted to create something, I figured out the Nespresso cup sauce can be a really cheap sauce, and no need a big investment. It's just only need the tools which you can find in your household, and just do it. That's it. So little practice, little patience, and then it can be like this type of jewelry, fairy lights, dolls, Christmas ornaments, even Christmas wreaths.
It's absolutely phenomenal, and I'm looking at all the intricate detail. Do you sell these to people all over the country, or do you make them just for yourself?
This is basically my hobby, so
Okay.
I'm not really selling it, but I have a Facebook page and an Instagram page, so I can show over there my jewelries, because my main art is a pet portrait artist, so my daily job is showing animals, cats and dogs, and wildlife art. So when I want to, a little different things, that's my recycling thing. Let's say Sunday and Saturday.
Perfect. Well, Esther, thank you so much for showing us this brilliant and very novel and sustainable source of art. You don't really see this very often, and I really credit you. It's so
thank you.
cool. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
This has been the Irish Maker podcast. I've been your host, Nathan Wheeler. This episode was engineered and mixed by Vicky Toomey Lee. Thank you to our sponsor, Coding Grace. Music provided by Gertie Beats. Follow the Irish Maker podcast on social media at the Irish Maker Podcast. And if you're a maker or you know a maker who should be on this podcast, then send us an email at irishmakerpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.